apparently you and your brother had that alike because Grandpa had pictures of everything. And it took me, after he passed, Grandma sent me all of their pictures, and it was 11 of boxes of pictures they shipped to my house. And I had to sort through. And when she came down, she was trying to help me go through it. And I was like, "Who is this, Grandma? Who is it?" She was like, "I don't know. And your grandpa not here to tell me." So,
she forgot. Oh, you forgot him. Yeah, I would love. Oh, I see. I never knew that much about him. My brother left home when he was 17 years old.
Welcome back, everybody, to Inspiring Beauty and Believers. I'm your host, Song, and today we are on our docuseries, or my docuseries, called Finding Me, where I am discovering more about where I came from on all the branches of my family tree. So I'm excited to have with me today my Aunt Connie. Well, she's my great aunt, which is my grandfather's sister. And today, the day we're recording is actually his birthday. So I'm really excited to have you. Hi, Auntie Connie.
Thank you. I am excited too about all this. Obviously, so since I had the time all wrong, but I'm glad we could come on at this time. And when you sent me some of the information you have, I have the same information. And, it'll be fun discussing it amongst ourselves as to what all this means. But I didn't get that list of my father's family until I think my last visit in California with him. And that picture you just showed was my last visit with him. When he handed me that list of all his siblings, and most of them I don't know, because I had no idea until I saw this that he was the third son of 10 children. And we're talking about Neil. His actual name is Cornelius, I found out, not just Neil. It's Cornelius Stanford, which is the same as his first son, right?
Right. So that part I didn't find out until later as well. So that would make Grandpa a junior.
Right. But I never knew that. I always knew my dad is Neil. And I named my second son Neil. And my first great grandchild was born this year, February 1st. His name is Neil. Let me back up. His name is Nolan. He's named that. I'm getting a little confused. His name is his same initials, NLC, as his dad, his grandfather. Not his dad. So anyway, I remember, let me just try to go back some. This year I will be 84 years old on September 6th. And, they say when you get to this age, you're supposed to be able to remember things from early on in your life, but I don't know. I'll do the best I can to help you through it. Stop me whenever, with questions that you might have. But as the list says, my father was Cornelius Stanford, and we called him Neil. He was born on April 13th in 1911. And he died on April 18, 2003, and you have that information. And his siblings, I think his oldest, there was a Joseph Stanford, who was born, and I have the dates just like you do. So, I don't know if you want me to go through all this, but Joseph Stanford was born in Lumberton, Mississippi in May 1908.
Did you ever get a chance to meet any of them?
I'll tell you of all these here, the only two I ever met were Bessie May, who was born in Alabama in January 1914, and Shelley May. I thought that was interesting. They both have the same middle name. Was born in July 1915, and I met them as a young child. My parents, Neil and Velma, my mother, divorced at I was a very young child, and I may have been 5 years or younger when they divorced. And I know I was about that age when my mom moved from Ohio, where they lived and where I was born, and moved to Buffalo, New York. And mom used to send me and my brother Cornelius, Cornelius Sonny, your grandpa's Sonny. She used to send us to Ohio to visit family there. I don't know how many times. We obviously were young enough to travel, and Buffalo was they lived in Akron, Ohio. Buffalo was only about 3 hour ride by automobile anyway, but we probably went on a bus. I don't know how we got there really, but I do remember Bessie and Shelley, and I remember my grandmother, Neil's mother, not my grandfather, Alonzo, but Ada Stanford.
So,
and her memory is so vivid to me because, I was a young child, so all I recall is that she was very tall. And I can remember the house, and wherever they lived, it was in an area where, and I don't know if this still exists in Akron, it was on a body of water nearby, but it was, what was with all this steam coming out of the water? I don't know if it was something going on, some manufactured stuff or what, or is this some, I would love to go back maybe and check and see what that was, but that much I remember. And that's about it. And, what I remember living in Ohio before my mother and father divorced.
Really? That's interesting.
I remember that. And that's about it. And I think, because, my brother Sonny was only 2 years younger than me. So, we were there. We both were there together. And when my mother left, she took the two of us to Buffalo. And like I say, I understood I was about 5 years old, so Sonny would have been about 3, But Bessie never came to Buffalo to visit us. But Shelley was very much involved in our lives because she and my mom were close. And so she communicated with us. And I remember she had one daughter, but I don't remember her name right off. At some point, I had that documented somewhere, way back in young teenagers, and I communicated, but I lost contact with that. So I don't remember her daughter's name even at this time. She was older than me. But Shelley came to my wedding when I got married in 1959.
Oh, wow.
And I have her picture in my wedding album.
Do you have it with you?
Yes, my wedding book. Yes.
Yeah. If you don't have it right now, it's fine. You can, but I would love to see a picture.
It's in my bedroom, but yeah, I do have that, and I think I have a picture of Aunt Shelley and another friend of my mother's name, Rose. Even though there was somebody in here, there was a family member of my father's sibling named Rose Ann, but I never met her. She was born the same year as my mother, so she would have been 1917. Just a week later, hardly a week later. She was born August 26th, and Mom was born September 2nd, 1917. But I never met Rosa. Bessie lived in California. When Neil went out there, I don't know at what point she went out there.
Oh, wow.
California, but she lived out there. So in 1974, which is my first visit to California, to visit my brother and your mom. And let's see, I had 2 children with me and my husband. Bessie came by to see us, so say hello. And she brought one of her wonderful cakes. She was known as, I don't know if your mom ever told you about her, but she made the most wonderful cakes. She brought us a pound cake that we'll never ever forget how wonderful it was.
No, I have not heard about any of them.
Oh,
the only thing I ever heard was that Ada Williams, I don't know if they said that she was a white woman or that she was extremely fair skinned.
Well, because I only saw her when I was very, very young.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody ever, if she was white, I'm sure we would know.
Right.
I don't think she was white. I think, she was born in Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
And she could have been a child of a, plantation owner, or slave owner, or whatever, and whether or not she was born free or anything like that, you're into the genealogy much more than I am, so I'm sure we could always try to find something.
Right. I definitely will be researching to find more about her.
Yeah, 1880. What was it? She was born in 1887.
Yes.
And Alonzo, her husband, was born in Alabama also, where in 1883.
Mm-hmm.
He died in 1924. I wish we could have access to wonderful things like Skip Gates. Do you watch his show, Roots?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, he has everything there for him and all the help in the world.
I know. I hope eventually I can get to that place and find out more, because especially when you get back to around slavery time, it's really hard to figure out where everybody came from, because they're not listed by name. They're listed by black, Negro, female,
or a number or whatever. So who knows what we could come up with. But if we could get back to, what you're doing on the Stanford side, whatever I can help with, which isn't a lot, but I want to do also on my mother's side.
Right.
Because she came from another group of people who settled here in this country. It came out of Louisiana. And settled in Oklahoma, where freed blacks were welcome. Wonderful records the state of Oklahoma kept on those free blacks. And my mom used to always say, I know I'm digressing a little from the Stanford
no, you're
side,
good, because eventually I want to get to the Hope side as well, but I had to start with the information I had, which was the Stanford.
Two different families, and that's 2 different families. The Hope is enough, and that's my mom's second husband.
Right.
And that's a whole nother area that I'd like to delve into too. But on the Pinier side.
Pinier,
and that's
yes.
my mother's correct name, not Payne. And there's a story behind that. We may not get into it today, but we have time to get into that. They came somewhere out of Louisiana. Mm-hmm. And I was told Shreveport area, and then settled in Oklahoma. And, I won't go any further into that, but I wanted to get back to what you were talking about, trying to research information on the Stanfords. Ancestry.com, as you know about them, I went as far back as I could with my mom with that. And I found out that my mom's grandfather served in the Spanish-American War.
Really?
But that was free information. I never went further than that with Ancestry, because now you got to pay, to get a whole lot of other information. But, there are other census records that have opened up back in the 20s, free information on those records. So that's what probably we could do if we could just concentrate on the Stanfords. Mm-hmm. Maybe we can find more information about all these siblings, not just their parents, but Joseph, I didn't know about. Cassie Lee, I heard the name.
Mm-hmm.
But this one, and I'm not sure how to pronounce it, Esphesion. That he died at birth, obviously, because they
Right.
said he was born on November 13th,
And then
1912, and died on that same day. Am I correct? Is that what you
yes.
have?
Yep, that's what I have.
Esphesion, Esphesion, then
And I
Bessie
think it's
May.
because I know they said a lot of times back then they didn't have the medical things that they needed to save babies. So
Right,
that's why they had so many babies, is
right,
because just in case.
yeah, right. I understand.
And then
Yeah,
also they
so
didn't
then
have birth
Bessie,
control.
right. Now the other ones I mentioned, I didn't know Rosa Ann. I remember hearing the name, but I don't know anything about her. Alonzo now, uh, Alonzo and his family at some point settled in Kansas. They went from Ohio to Kansas, I
Okay.
understand. That I remember the talk. But also his son, I think, ended up in California because do you know that relative?
Mm,
Alonzo Jr. or whoever? Now, your mom would might have. And I'm trying to think, what did I see that had that younger child's name? I never knew
hmm.
them. I just knew them by, I just knew that they existed and moved out there. Somebody moved out to California because your
Right.
grandfather, Neil, and your dad and your grandfather, your great grandfather and grandfather both had contact with Alonzo Jr., I believe, out in California.
Okay. And I've heard the name Alonzo, but it could have been not a family member. It could have just been somebody named Alonzo. So,
Yeah, I understand.
but I
Eddie,
have been using ancestry.com, and I have had some people reach out to me saying they think that we're family on the Stanford side. So I'm gonna reach out and talk to them
great.
because there is one that lives in LA and I haven't contacted
Okay,
them yet. But that might
okay,
be the link to Alonzo.
okay, good. Something about California that folks like because on my mother's side, she had an aunt that settled in Sacramento, Northern California,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the side I'm so interested. Oh gosh, I want to know more about them. But back, and I know it's so much we could, maybe we can narrow it down at some point in future gatherings. But when you mention about Ada being real fair
Mm-hmm.
and light skin, obviously so. Look at the picture of your great grandfather,
Right. So
you
this
know,
this
and
one,
yeah, yeah, how fair yeah. See, that's the same. I don't know why I cropped it off for some reason, whatever I was using it for. But I do have that picture too.
I'll
In
send this one to
my,
you.
I got pictures. Oh my God. Every form you ever thought photography came in, I have it.
So apparently you and your brother had that alike because grandpa had pictures of everything. And it took me after he passed, grandma sent me all of their pictures and it was 11 of boxes of pictures they shipped to my house and I had to sort
Oh,
through. And when she came down, she was trying to help me go through it. And I was like, "Who is this, Grandma? Who is it?" She's like, "I don't know." And your grandpa not here to tell me.
she
So,
forgot. Oh,
mm-hmm.
you forgot him. Yeah, I would love. Oh, I see. I never knew that much about him. My brother left home when he was 17 years old. So,
When he went to the military,
and
right?
right, we went in the Navy, and then I didn't see him again until 1970.
Oh,
Mid
wow.
1974 when we first met. Oh, he came once prior to that to Buffalo to visit. He drove across country and said, "Never do it again."
Sounds like him.
But yeah,
I
but
know he
we
said
went to
he
see
did
him.
not like Buffalo because it was cold in the snow, and that's why he ended up in California.
Well, yeah, he had. I mean, up until he was 17 when he joined the Navy. Put your age up, then nobody checked back then. So, he never came back, but a couple of times. And later on, he came a little more often. He could fly there, and of course in the summer.
Yes.
But his dad was already out there in California, so it was great that he had that experience with his dad. That I didn't have. Yeah, I had it with my stepfather, which was a wonderful experience. That's another story when I get to the hopes. But it's gosh, I could go on and on and on. I'm a talker
Can
too.
you show us the picture that you have of him, the one in the Navy, his Navy picture? I don't have that with me here.
I love this picture. Can you see that?
Yes. That's one of my favorite pictures of him too.
Yeah. I love that picture. Just love it. This was my high school graduation with my yearbook, senior yearbook picture.
Oh, yes.
I graduated from Narden Academy, and I was the first African American to graduate from there in 1954.
Wow.
When I enrolled as a freshman, was all Catholic girls, private girls school. Okay, my mother was quite an advocate for civil rights back in the day, And when I applied for that school, they came back to my mom and said, "Well, she lives a long way, and might have some difficulty getting there and all that." They had, just like you have school districts with the public school system, where the Catholic schools had districts also, and they called them diocesan schools. So if you lived in that district and your diocese was Sacred Heart, say, you had to go to the high school in that district.
Right.
But if you applied at a private school and your parents could afford to pay tuition compared back then was not that high compared to today, but my mother somehow figured out how to do it, and you were not restricted. If you applied to a private school and was accepted, you could go. Well, you could live anywhere, and go to that school. But they came back with a letter saying, "Well, it's sort of a long way for her to have to come, because naturally I'm coming from the Black community, Ellicott District, getting on a couple of buses and all that." My mother didn't accept that. She went to the higher authorities and found out that they could not keep me out. So when I enrolled, I was one of 3 Blacks. The other 2 girls didn't like it, and they left after their freshman year, and I stayed on to my senior year. And another Black didn't come in until my senior year as a freshman. Wow. So I was the first African American, as we're called today, to graduate from Narden Academy.
Wow.
And even now, it's a beautiful school, but even now, there are very few minorities that go there, because its tuition is really, private schools nowadays. Yes. But anyway, I'm off the track on that because I showed you my high school picture.
No, that's good.
Lots of stories, lots of stories.
So I found this.
Okay, go
and
ahead.
I'm going to try to, I don't want to rip it. I have to get it laminated or something, but.
Oh, yes. Now, I have that picture, and when you sent me, and let me tell you the story. This was after I had graduated. What year was that? Does it say on there? Is there a year on there?
It says, no, it does not say the year on this. It says,
okay. I think it's on
Stanford, 19 of 206 Watson Street, is a candidate in the Miss Great Buffalo contest. She is a graduate from Narden Academy and the Bryant and Straighten Business Institute. Miss Stanford, stenographer with the Social Security Administration, is sponsored by the Ebony Business Men's Investment Club. She is the daughter of Mrs. George A. Holt.
Okay. Yeah, the story behind that, the Ebony Business Group that you're talking about, was headed by a man named Emmanuel Humes, Humes, and he and his wife were close friends of our family. And of course, this was 19, let's see, 54, 58. Civil rights issues things were coming out then.
Mm-hmm.
We were coming out protesting, getting ready to do whatever. And so this was before I got married. I got married in 59. So this was a couple of years before that. Mr. Humes knew about this pageant,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess they've been having them regularly, and no blacks had ever participated. And he came to my mother and me and asked if I would like to be one of the contestants.
Oh, wow.
And I said, sure, sure. I remember going to something, about it, and you didn't have, I mean, we knew what at that time, if you won, it would have been highly, highly unusual. But
Right.
at least I participated in whatever. I don't remember any particular activities that I went to with the other contestants who were all white.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even remember who won. I'm sure I went back and research and could find, but at least I got my picture in the paper. And
Exactly.
that was not the black. We had this couple of community newspapers in the black community. This was the Buffalo Evening News, the top newspaper in the city, right? And they put my picture in there along with that information. Thanks to Mr. Humes, he and his wife eventually, she was a top beautician here in this city,
Mm-hmm.
Mrs. Humes. And Mr. Humes eventually, because like you said, in the 60s, things opened up for blacks in different areas. And he got involved in construction work and got contracts, to do big things as a subcontractor because they were giving stuff for black, federal
Mm-hmm.
grants and all that coming in. So he was pretty prominent in the city, So that's probably how he also got my picture in there.
Right.
That's about all I remember about that. And I have that same picture in you see that mom's photo album, or that's another thing with my mother had loads of pictures, big thick photo albums, right? And on her 98th birthday, we went to Buffalo. That's when we started really celebrating big her birthdays.
Mm-hmm.
And I was quite involved in computers and whatnot. And my son Neil, and lived here in Raleigh at the time. And he said, "Mom, let us take these back home. I'm gonna put them on CDs and whatever, and prepare things for as we celebrate your birthday, put things up." Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so we drove up to Buffalo from Raleigh, which is always a long drive, but we brought the photo albums back. I still have them to this day, and every once in a while, before Mom died, she said, "When are you gonna bring my pictures back?" And why it reminded her of it, because in her bedroom she had this tall bookcase with all this empty space up there that I had taken her. But I have them, and they're now not here in this apartment, but they're now with Neil
Mm-hmm.
in his apartment. And every time in his house, and every time I go over there, I say, "Where are those pictures?" "All right, Mom, they're right there in that closet. Don't worry, we got them."
See,
But
that's
I
what
think
I
that,
want to
and
do. Go ahead.
yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I was just saying that reminded me of when you said about all the pictures you have. That's just
Mm-hmm.
my mom's pictures. And as you
Right.
told me about your grandpa's pictures. Oh gosh. And
Yes,
not, I
I
tell you
want
what,
to eventually scan them all in so that I can have them all documented. And I want to do it in chronological order, but since none of the stuff was organized, it's going to take a minute.
that's
It's
a
a
job.
forever
Yeah.
enduring process.
Well, I can say this, that, when I mentioned all the different photos I have, we started out with slides, photo slides, then, can't, regular photographs we had printed, take it to the printer, to the camera store and bring them back. tons of those. My husband always believed in making copies, so I've sat through and thrown out duplicates, Then we got involved with VHS tapes.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you about those. That's a real disappointment because I have wonderful things, tons of them. And those pictures fade.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I didn't realize that I had tons of them, and the picture you can't hardly see what's on there. And some of those printed color prints, even the slides, I was able to salvage my wedding pictures,
Mm-hmm.
which were on slides. And at the time that I transferred them over to CDs, some of the colors were not, even the colors of the bridesmaids' dresses, which were all blue,
Mm-hmm.
were a different shade of blue than I knew they should have been,
Right.
originally. Yeah.
It is
So
definitely
that's some of the,
difficult to preserve that.
yeah,
You mentioned
yeah.
a picture's fading, and I have this picture of, I know this is my grandfather because it says it right here, but
That's, yes, okay.
I
Isn't
don't
that,
know
and
who
I
the look
had,
at.
and you have the actual, see, that mom must have had more than one of those. Okay, I know who that is. That's Neil, the grandpa,
Uh-huh.
Cornelius, not Neil, Cornelius, Sonny. And
Mm-hmm.
that lady, the young girl, from the friend, my mom, her name was Joanne Marcus.
Okay.
And we were neighbors. This was in Buffalo. This was after we had moved to Buffalo, and mom met Joanne's mother, Marion Marcus. They were friends for years until Marion passed. And Joanne, that's Joanne Marcus, my friend, and they were about the same age.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and mom has that picture too, so she must have made more than one. I don't know when mom gathered all her pictures. I was married and moved away, so all of her pictures she had. I
Mm-hmm.
love that. I love that little picture.
I do too. I
So
said
that's,
that's so
yeah.
cute. Um,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
so I also found this, and I know this is Grandpa Neil, but I don't know who this lady is because I know it's not your mom.
Oh, no. Okay. Neil, he stayed, after your mom divorced, he didn't marry again for years later.
Hmm.
And that's his second wife. Her name is Pearl.
Okay.
You never met her? She died before he did.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
But I have in mom's pictures, I recall looking at that, not a picture of Pearl and Neil and my mother and one or two of her friends from Buffalo. Mom, back in the 70s, went to California to visit, and Neil had married again. And
Hmm.
that's who he was married to, Pearl. Lovely picture I have of them, and I'll have to get that, make a note of that, to find it, can be a task, and send that to you so and I'll identify. All I remember her name was Pearl.
Hmm.
And I had been married for some time, when I when he remarried. I remember I was living. We lived in Buffalo. When I got married, we were in Buffalo for about 10 years, and then we moved to New Jersey.
Hmm.
My husband's work, and moved back to Buffalo 4 years later. So that would have been in the late 70s when I found out that Neil had married again.
Wow. And see, and I never
Pearl,
met
that's who
her.
that is. Yeah, because she died. I don't know when she died, and because my father, your dad would have known more.
Hmm.
My father, it was in that era where you didn't communicate. You didn't make no long distance calls and stuff like that back in that day. And or write even.
Right.
Uh, so I never knew. I didn't know anything much about him other than I know your grand your great grandfather liked to fish, and when I
Yeah,
did go
that's all
back,
I remember. I remember him sitting in the garage at my grandparents' house, and he would be messing with his radio, like fixing it or something, or he'd be doing something with his fishing poles, getting ready to leave and go fish. And that's
mm,
all the because he passed, and still was fairly, I don't think I had turned 18 yet. And
Yeah,
so,
it's too
and I
bad.
remember he got really sick, and he wasn't at the house anymore. And then they said that he had passed. But
Mhm.
yeah, all my memories were like very small, just saying, "Hey, Grandpa Neil." He's just, hey, and he's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
working on stuff in the
You
garage.
know, my sons, knowing that was their grandfather, they knew the grandfather here in Buffalo very well, but
Hmm.
uh, when I did take them out to California to see him, they were young. I don't know what age they were. They could tell you better. Kyle and I think Neil too. He took them fishing, and they remember that.
Aw.
And I know he liked fishing a lot, and he would. The last I recall about his fishing experience was that he would go up to, was it Lake Mead up
Hmm.
in Vegas area, up in Nevada. And
Hmm.
I saw that lake. When I went to Vegas several times with some friends, and we went to Laughlin, Nevada. We
Uh-huh.
drove over there, and the lake was there, Lake Mead. And I said, "Oh, this is the lake where my dad used to come fish."
Fish.
So I did see that. Oh, girl, I between my stories and my children, you've never met my sons, have you? Uh,
No.
no.
I plan to do more traveling now because I want to meet everybody, and there's so many things that like I never knew because all I ever really knew was California, really.
I
So
know.
I didn't really ever
Yeah.
go to the East Coast. I and actually I
Yeah.
have my grandmother gave me this book.
I was looking for that's. I got several copies left over, and darn if I could put. I don't know where. I got a big box right here, all my mother's stuff, because I'm still dealing with closing out her business when she owned the house and all that. Oh gosh. Anyway, I
Oh
got a box
wow.
right here by my computer of all her stuff, and I think that some of those extra books are in this box, but I haven't gotten to it. But yes, that gives you a little idea of Velma. You know,
Right. And so I was looking at here and I said, "Oh, my name is in here."
of course,
I was
thanks to
like,
your mom.
dang, yes.
Let me tell you, I mean, to your not your mom, your grandma, your grandmother. Because when
Grandpa
we
used
got,
to always, every time I would call, he'd be like, "Okay, here's your mama." And I always knew he meant my grandma, but he always called her my mama, so I just got used to it.
yeah, yeah. That book, when we celebrated her 100th birthday, I called your mom. I mean,
Mhm.
not your mom. I love you, Michelle. She's on my mind. Your grandmother, Shirley.
Mhm.
And I said, I need all the names of your grands and great grands and whoever.
Mhm.
And I went around to all my family, to get those grands in. I knew who mom's 5 children were and who their, children. But after that,
It's
you
a
know,
hard list to keep up with.
and you know how many, yeah, because remember that family tree thing you did some time ago? I had,
Yes.
yeah, this,
Oh,
you
you
did
still have
this, it was, yeah, I
it was
got
so
that.
many and it keeps growing and
And
I
look,
probably missed some people on there.
this is my, this is a replica of what's in that printed book you just saw. I started out like this, and look at how I've been adding.
Mhm.
And I ended up with, I don't know. My mother said, "Who are all those people?" She was born when she was 100 years old. Who? I don't know. But I tried to get everybody in for that publication, okay?
Mhm.
And right after we printed it, Shirley and I were on the phone, and she said, "We just had a couple more." Great, great. I said, "Well, I don't even know who they are. They're not on that list.
It-
But
it-
that's a good guide for you, huh?
yes. So I definitely
With all this.
once I get into her whole life story and move over to the how do you say her maiden name? Pinier?
it's French. It's Pinier.
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 Yes. So
Pinier.
once I get into that, I'm definitely going to be using
Yeah.
this because and she has there's so many news articles. She was in the newspaper a lot.
Velma Hope. Yep. And I try to keep up with that and I know I have that stuff somewhere in one of those boxes because I had those articles and the one that they did. Oh, she might have been what, 98 or 90. She had to be 98. She was really, it wasn't until up to 99 she was so clear and together. It was unbelievable.
Mhm.
And she started getting, deteriorated when she hit that 100th year. But they did an article in her, she lived in a community all of her life. They call it the Elected District.
Mhm.
And you heard of this word gentrification.
Mhm.
You know, folks are coming back, the white folks coming back into communities,
Mhm.
putting businesses in, living in houses in the area and whatever. And there was a group that, I don't know what magazine, some local magazine, they were in the neighborhood and somebody must have told them about mom. And I had this picture of her sitting in her living room sofa, and they wrote this gorgeous article about her and the church right down the street where we all went to school, and Catholic church that was abandoned.
Mhm.
Eventually the Catholic diocese, sold or gave all churches in the inner city. Okay, and the one I went to your grand and all my Hope siblings went to school.
Mhm.
It was only a few doors from where my mom lived. And
I
I
wonder
got
if
married in that.
I might have that picture. I know I had a picture of him in school.
Mm-hmm.
Was it the Sacred Heart School?
Ah, that's it. Yeah, there he is. Yeah, my mother had all of those several different years, in her photo album.
Wow.
Yeah, that's it. Well, that school was right down the street where my mother died in 2018, right down the street, just a few doors away from that building.
Wow.
And anyway, I just said all that was the last article I saw about her, other than what we put in the local newspapers, when she passed.
Right.
Just loads of articles, and she was quite an advocate for teaching with informally, nothing formal. Because she was a cook in the Catholic diocese in the same area, same
Mhm.
school, same building, cook for the priests, and during the 60s. And they would have these seminarians who came, young men who were going to study for the priesthood, come into the inner city in the summer from the seminary,
Mhm.
and they would stay at the rectory where Mama was the chief cook. Well, she not only was feeding them, but food, but life
Wow.
about things they didn't get in the classroom. Okay. And those young priests never forgot her. So several years later, and I don't know what year, we don't have that, but I have a beautiful picture of us. Where is it? The family. Some of my pictures are packed away in a corner over here, and I'll have to get them out for the next visit. I've ventured off talking about mom and being in the news a lot, but she received an honorary doctorate degree.
Mhm.
Uh, the first African American woman, uh, first woman, and first African American to ever receive an honorary doctorate degree from this it was not a university. They call it seminary,
Mm-hmm.
where, like theological places in the Catholic Church, they call them seminaries. And they were at college level when you graduated from there. But
Right.
mom got a doctorate, honorary doctorate, and your mom and I keep saying your mom, your
Grandma,
grandfather
grandpa.
came for that, and I have the most gorgeous picture of us uh, at that celebration. And it's in a frame somewhere, and I'm trying to think where I would love to show it to you now, but I can't put my finger on it that quickly. Because I run out of space to put pictures. I used to have in my
Having them everywhere.
before I moved here, I had a house, and pictures everywhere. So I would know exactly where that picture was, because I'd have it out in a frame. But I'll have to get that to you. What other picture I was going to send you? Something else. Hold it. My wedding picture. Out of my wedding book, I want you to see your Aunt Shelley.
Right.
Well, your great aunt, great aunt, or whatever. And I don't know what else.
There was a
Whatever
picture
else
of Grandpa Neil, Pearl, and Grandma Velma.
Oh yeah, Grandpa Neil, Pearl, my mom. Okay, Shelley at my wedding, and group picture of my mom and family. Okay, of the doctorate degree. Okay, I got that. And anything else that I can come up with? I have lovely pictures in my mother's photo album when she came to California in the 70s.
That would be nice too.
And she took those pictures. And I had beautiful, and in that group, her first visit there of your grandparents, they're just absolutely gorgeous. you know. I had those are all in my mom's photo albums, and they're over at my son's house. I know where they are. If I get over there, and then sit up in that chair and watch the sports, because when you go to his house, that's all you see is sports. I could go in that closet and pull out some books and take some pictures and send to you.
Sounds good.
I don't know. I got a few. It only takes me a couple of minutes to walk down the hall to my next event, but I'm so appreciative that you let me come in earlier. My next event, I try to stay active here. We got shut down a lot because of whatever going on in this world. And they've opened up a lot, and so I try to get involved in some things that I enjoy doing.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I went to a lecture downtown on lunchtime. They took us on the van, and she didn't tell us that it was going to be on African American history until we got there. And I think that was so she made sure she got some of the white folks to come. Because I was the only African American in the group, and they told the history of this village community in Raleigh where freed slaves settled,
Mm-hmm.
which I was very familiar with, but it was an eye opener for the other guests. And today, on Tuesdays at 3:30, I decided that I was going to do a little philanthropic, if you want to call it, without paying out money. I like to knit, although I haven't done anything in years. And I started knitting shawls that they will eventually donate to hospice patients.
That would be nice.
So they started, and I spent about an hour, sometimes not that long, with them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm in the process of knitting this shawl. We sit there together and do that at 3:30. And I go to yoga. I told you about my yoga and my Tai Chi. Yeah. I don't know if I mentioned yoga, but Tai Chi and yoga I do. And that's not enough. I got to walk. And we're just going through what we call the season change. So in late March, early April, the leaves come out on the trees and the pollen builds up from the pine trees and other. It's like another world out there, and you can't breathe because there's so much stuff coming up. And your
See, we don't
cars
have
are
much of
yellow
that
and the
here
ground.
in Arizona. So
I know. I said you're in the desert out there. You don't get this. Well, anyway, I cut down on my walking because of that, because of allergies and stuff. So I'm going to try to do some more of that along with my other activities and stuff. I've said a lot this past year, more than I should have,
Well,
So
you
other
definitely
than
inspire
that,
me. I am looking into doing more. More. I'm actually
I
going to take a
know
hot yoga class and try that out. And
a lot of stuff on YouTube, that you can do too,
yes.
classes like Tai Chi and yoga, But we got live instructors that are coming back now. First we were just doing on YouTube or Zoom. And now because we can have them back with us, we do it outside when the weather is
That's
good,
nice.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to let you go ahead and get to your knitting.
Yeah, only take a couple of minutes. And look, let's do this some more because I know it's like an introduction. Maybe you'd be more specific and let me know in advance, what I can get ready to share with you.
Yes. We'll do some more. I would love to talk to your children as well. I'm going to make my rounds to talk to everybody so I can, so we can put all the puzzles together of the family and see the whole picture.
Yeah, I'd love for you to meet my sons. And, I got this new great grandbaby. He just sent me a picture of him. Let me show you real quick. This is him today. And he sent this on that's Nolan. Can you see him?
Oh, yes. He's so handsome.
Isn't he gorgeous? Yes. He's 2 months and a few weeks or whatever. Not quite 3 months old. And boy, I tell you, he's adorable. And I have 2 granddaughters, that's all. And this one, Ariana, she has this little boy, and her sister's younger. And then I have 3 sons. Kyle is my oldest. I'd love for you to meet him. He lives in Maryland, and Neil is here. And my son Eric lives in Buffalo, New York. And I'll tell y'all about that later.
Yes, the next time we get together, I have a whole box of pictures from the Coles that Grandma had, so we can look through those.
Okay. And if, whatever I can come up with, genealogy on the Stanford, I'll try to see what I can help you with. I'm going to find those few things and we can go from there. Okay.
I appreciate it. I love you so much. Thank you.
Love you too. Thank you so much. It's fun.
We'll talk later.
All right. Have a wonderful day. Okay.
Bye.